What is going on, everybody? This is the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. It is Saturday, December 30th. Sorry I missed the past couple days. My little dude is under the weather. He is at his mom's house now, still under the weather. But here I am. We will go through the 6-game slate. Yeah. Rough night yesterday for sure. I didn't sleep. I mean, my lineups weren't great, but that's not my main concern. That wasn't my main concern the past few days, but yeah. So I hopped in the $1,000 qualifier tonight because it's a win-win. Either I go to Toronto or I clear 1,000 of taxable income before the new year. He's still sick, but he's at his mom's. Hopefully he starts to feel better today or tomorrow. Otherwise, next week could get a little dicey, but one day at a time in the life of Avery. So 6-game slate. Thank you. Hopefully it is quick, but 6-game slate tonight is small slate for Saturday, but we have the $40 Saturday shootout in DraftKings, 10K to first. There is a $1,000 qualifier. I think there's a similar tournament on FanDuel, I would imagine. They always run the same type of deal. This slate, there's a bunch of teams on a back-to-back. There's a couple home and homes. So this is an interesting slate. So I'm just blabbering on right now, so we might as well get to it and hop right in. First game of the night, we have the Boston Bruins traveling to the Ottawa Senators to face... See, I'm tired. The Boston Bruins are traveling to Ottawa to face the Senators. It's going to be Tuukka Rask. Is confirmed. I would imagine it's going to be Mike Condon tonight. I don't know if Craig Anderson is going to go on a back-to-back. Ottawa's on a back-to-back. They beat Columbus last night 5-4. That's the first time they really started scoring in a while. Columbus is really banged up. They're without Wenberg. They're without Atkinson. Werenski was just coming back from an injury. Bob hasn't been his best. And they still gave up. Oh, Condon started last night, so it's probably going to be Craig Anderson tonight. Sorry. Yeah. Appreciate the heads up. You guys rock. For me, again, I'm not super high on Ottawa. It's not something I, still want to do, even though they put up 5 goals last night. Guy Boucher doesn't even know what the fuck he's putting out as lines. He mixes them up all the time. The one thing I will say, if you want to use the Senators, there's only a couple players I'd use. I'd use Erik Karlsson for sure. I mean, that's obvious. If you need a punted defenseman, Cody Ceci's okay. I think, like a Mark Stone is okay. He sees power play time. Hoffman's getting jerked around. There's trade rumors swirling, so, I'd probably stay away for the most part. I'd probably just, if I was going to use him, I'd go Stone, Karlsson, something like that. But I'm probably going to fade. I've barely used Ottawa this season, and when I have, they've let me down. I mean, if you find some underlying numbers that you really like against Boston and Tuukka Rask, by all means, follow your gut and play your plays. But for me, this is a Boston game for me. I think you can go back-to-back as Heinen. The thing that concerns me a little bit is it's a short slate. It's 6 games. They've been on an intense heater. So as a secondary line, I would imagine that they're going to have decent ownership tonight. If that's something that's not going to bother you, then by all means go for it. I don't know if it's going to bother me. They're definitely... I haven't constructed my lineups yet, but they are on my list of plays. whether I get down, yes, they do provide a lot of salary relief. So whether they make my cut for my one lineup, I'm not sure, but they're definitely in play. Boston 1, I think, is my top play tonight. They've been kind of quiet the last 2 days, but this is a really good matchup. You know, Senators on the back-to-back. You know, they've been banged up. They've been, you know, the Senators have been bad. And how many times are you going to see Boston 1 go quiet 3 games in a row? I mean, that may be bad reasoning to use them, but, you know, they are over 21,000 to full stack. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're missing the boat. I think it's more chasing the boat. Because, you know, Boston's a good team. They get scoring. You know, Danton Heinen's a young kid. He's producing. Backus looks like he's finally healthy. We'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, so for me, the top play is Boston 1. But yeah, I mean, I think they hit their ceiling pretty hard. But, you know, you never know. They could, you know, everyone can have hat tricks on that line, and they can call me stupid. Yeah, but they're probably going to have more ownership than they should for a secondary line, and that's my only concern with using them. I don't have an issue using them if you can differentiate your lineups, which is obviously possible, especially if you go away from the traditional 4-3-1. I think if you even just mix up and go 3-3-2, I think it will be unique. But again, they're going to have ownership. Doesn't bother me. Only if I have a lineup that I think is going to be duped. So Boston top line is in play. Is probably my favorite play tonight. Will I go there? It's looking like it. It just depends how the rest of my build comes together. So like I said, on the blue line, you want to go Torrey Krug. I think you can go Torrey Krug. You want to go Charlie McAvoy. Okay. On the Ottawa side, you know, Carlson's only 6,200, which is cheap for him. You know, he's really the only player that really does a lot game in, game out. Cody Ceci blocks a ton of shots. He's involved. He plays like 20-something minutes tonight. He's 3,300. I think he can go there as well. But other than that, you know, I'm not super excited about anyone on the Senators. Would I play Ceci in cash? Just going through some of the defensemen, just off the top of my head, looking at these games, maybe. I think, you know, there's merit to Sami Vatanen, who's a little bit more expensive, I think. In that price range, I think you can use Jacob Slavin as well. Looking at Vancouver, I think you can use, you know, Del Zotto. But, I mean, if you need to spend down, depending on your build, I think, you know, in top 5 punt cash defenseman, I think he's in the conversation. But once I go through the slate, I'll have a better idea. But, you know, just off the top of my head, I think he is in the conversation of the top 4 if you're spending down. I mean, I think, you know, New Jersey defensemen are always decent to spend down on. You know, Sami Vatanen had a really good game yesterday. John Moore scored. I mean, I don't know if you want to go John Moore in cash, but I think my preferred play in cash would, if I'm spending down a defenseman, would be Vatanen, Slavin, or Del Zotto. But, you know, CC would be number 4. In net, Tuukka Rask, 8,400. Suns are on a back-to-back. This is a tad pricey for Tuukka Rask for me. But there are a ton of teams on a back-to-back tonight. Yeah, I think you can go to Boston 3. They're just going to have a little bit more ownership than they should. You know, so looking at the goalies tonight, you know, who's in and who's out. I mean, there isn't much that's confirmed yet. I think, you know, New Jersey's on a back-to-back on the road. I think you can go to Holtby in cash. You know, Jake Allen's probably not playing tonight. It's going to be Carter Hutton. Do you really want to spend $8,200 on Carter Hutton? Probably not. You know, Carey Price in Florida, I'm not sure is the best matchup. Yeah, Krejci in? Is he, or is he still out? Krejci's still out. So oh, he's in? Okay. So Krejci, Spooner, DeBrusque. You know, I think that is a good pivot. Thanks, guys. That is a good pivot from Heinen and Backus, just from an ownership perspective. I don't know, in a vacuum, I don't know if they're a better play, but that would be a nice contrarian option from Heinen and Backus. So back to the goalies, Tuukka Rask. I mean, 8,400 is tough for me. I paid up for Vasi the other night when he was 8,200 and paid off, but 8,400 when you're trying to jam in Boston 1 is just a lot to pay. I mean, goalie is kind of a mess tonight. I think Holtby's going to be popular just because New Jersey's on the road on a back-to-back and he's fairly cheap. Yeah, so I mean, like, you guys know me. My brand is not to pay up for goalie, but I try to give you fair analysis here. I think Tuukka in GPPs is okay if you're on the team of spending up for goalie. Maybe you even can consider him in cash, but I think for me, I probably go elsewhere in cash. So let's move on to the second game of the night. We have the Montreal Canadian. Yeah, Hellebuck was the first goalie I put in, and then I was like, yeah, I want to jam in McDavid, so I had to swap to Talbot, and that cost me some money. So go me. Montreal Canadiens traveling to Florida to face the Panthers. It's going to be James Reimer. Against, I would imagine it's Carey Price. I don't think there's any reason to play Antti Niemi here. But for me, I think the Florida top line is in play. They're one of the better lines, obviously, in the NHL. The Canadiens are banged up right now. Carey Price has been playing well, though, considering all the injuries. Top line for Florida is still with Bustad on the top line instead of Dadonov, which does provide some salary relief. I think, yeah, Shea Weber's still out, Schlemko's still out. Victor Mete is still off at the World Juniors. So the Canadiens' blue line is not good. I love Joe Morrow, but he's not a second pair defenseman in the NHL. The third pair is just a bunch of plugs. It's just, so Florida one's in play for me. They're at home, so I think you can go Yandel if you want to, or Ekblad, depending on. Yeah, I'm a big Morrow guy. I think he's good in a sheltered role on a third pair, and I think he has offensive upside. But if you expose him to top pair minutes, he's gonna get wrecked. Yeah, Montreal 4 is putting in work. They have been really good, actually. For me, the Florida top line is in play for sure. And I do like that second line tonight. Trocheck, Dadonov, and Malgin. I don't know if you want to keep Malgin on there. I think you can go, Trocheck, Dadonov, and Ekblad, something like that. If you want to get a little creative, that is fine as well. It'd be interesting to see what Claude Julien does with the lines, because I'm still not huge on James Reimer. I know he's been playing well of late, but It depends on the power play correlation. I would never use Yandel on the road, but at home it's kind of a toss-up for me. But I'd probably go Ekblad. This top line it doesn't really make sense to me, but I kind of like it. Drouin, Galchenyuk, Arturi Lehkonen. I kind of wish Claude Julien would just be like, you know what, we're struggling. Let's go Drouin, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk, something like that. Or even Gallagher on the top line. Or Gallagher and Galchenyuk together. Yandel's numbers on the road are just pretty brutal. Ekblad's a better play all around, especially on the road. Ekblad is a little bit more expensive. I think, Keith Yandel does provide, 400 salary relief to Ekblad on DraftKings. And I think you can go there if he correlates on the power play. He's been a much better player at home throughout his career, which is, kind of odd, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, I'm leaning towards a Montreal fade here. The one thing that kind of does draw me to it is Reimer. Florida isn't great defensively. I mean, the Barkov line's okay, but it was much better with Dadonov. That does bump up the second line a little bit defensively with Dadonov on there and Malgin on there. They're not anything to overly fear. But as it stands with Montreal's blue line banged up, their line's kind of funky. I kind of can get behind Carey Price tonight. I don't know if I'm going to go there just because I have concerns about their blue line and how good, Trocheck is possession-wise. It kind of worries me a little bit. But I do understand the play. He did play really well in Tampa for a few periods. But Tampa just is they're just a bull. So, Reimer I think makes sense in GPPs. This isn't Price's fault. I think he's playing better. He was injured before. I think he's, maybe not back to his world-class form when he was the best goalie in the NHL, but he's certainly one of the better goalies in the NHL still. Reimer and GPPs make sense, but if you're using Florida, can you make a case in cash if you're spending down on goalie? I think you can. It does worry me a bit. It's James Reimer. But, goalie options are a bit limited. There's a bunch of teams on back-to-back, so take that for what it's worth. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have New Jersey traveling to Washington to face the Capitals. It's going to be Braden Holtby. I would imagine it's Keith Kincaid. I don't know if they want to go Schneider back-to-back. They did travel a little bit. The more playing time Reimer gets, the better. The same could be said about any player, really. If it is Keith Kincaid, even if it is Schneider on a back-to-back, I really like Washington tonight. It's always a toss-up. I don't know who's going to be on the top line with Ovechkin and Backstrom. It's probably going to be Tom Wilson. So that, as a whole, salary, the second line is almost $3,000 cheaper. Kuznetsov, Oshie, Verana. Smith Pelly's up with them. Yeah. Top line DSP, huh? Jesus. I almost prefer Tom Wilson. Ooh, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. But yeah, the preferred line for me is going to be the second line. I think if you get creative, you can kind of jam them in with Boston 1. Cash. Okay. Yeah. I think you can lock in Ovi and cash if you really want to. That makes sense. For me in a GPP, I think I'm going to go Kuznetsov, Oshie, and Verana. They're cheaper. They get power. They have just as much power play correlation as the top line. Who would you leave off power play 1 on FanDuel? So, that's a good question. Either Backstrom or Kuznetsov. God, that hurts. I don't know. I hate that FanDuel you can't full stack a power play. Because it's Backstrom, Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Oshie, and Carlson, right? Yeah. Oof. I like using point men on the power play. So, because, the puck generally runs through them on the power play. So, the chances of Carlson getting assist on a power play goal is, obviously it's 60%, 3 of 5. But more pucks run through the point than they do down low. Yeah, so I think you got to go Oshie because he's their net front. You want the net front presence. So it's really a question of who you prefer, Backstrom or Kuznetsov. I think Kuznetsov's a better goal scorer, if that helps. Backstrom's a better passer. But I think the 3 you definitely want for sure is going to be Carlson. Yeah, but if it's a mess. So the 3 that I would want for sure is Carlson, Ovechkin, Oshie. And then after that, you can make a choice between Backstrom and Kuznetsov. So on the New Jersey side, not big on New Jersey tonight. Toss a coin, best of 7. If you're not happy, best of 11. I'm not really high on New Jersey tonight. It's back to back on the road. I know there's a bunch of teams doing that tonight, but listen, yeah, we can toss salad. We can ask Manny to toss some salad, see what percentages pop out. On the Devils side, not super interested in the Devils tonight. Taylor Hall at 7,500. I can't really get. Well, you should see some of the comments that people throw at me during the show. Listen, I play who I tout. Yeah. And if I don't, feel free to call me out. But listen, I try to be as transparent as possible. I don't give you my exact lineup because, but if you really listen carefully, you know who I'm going to play. What happened last night happened. Listen, I'm not blaming the kid. He's a good kid. Happy for him. There was, issues with the website maybe. I think, it's not Jake's fault. It is more the people who run the website's fault, I think. The guy who won the Q last night. Don't worry about it. It's taken care of. It's over with. Let the kid enjoy his moment. He had the nuts lineup. Like, you weren't beating him. Regardless of who he played, But, nah, not Boggs. Boggs won a couple nights ago. I wouldn't call Boggs a kid. It's probably older than me. But anyway, back to New Jersey. I don't know if I can justify spending $7,500 for Taylor Hall on a back-to-back. It was not Pepsi. Let's clear that up here. It was not Pepsi. listen, just be as transparent as possible. What happened? Okay, let me talk about it real quick. Okay, since everyone's asking, the guy who won the qualifier last night wrote an article, and in the article it said that he preferred Stahl, Coyle, Ennis, and ended up playing Granlund, and Koivu. But what people don't realize is he made it a point to say that he put the article up at like 11 in the morning. So, okay, I'll get to that in a second. But he did make it a point to say he didn't want to match up with the Turris line, and he thought the Koivu line is going to get the Turris line. So okay, fine. You can get past that. I understand it. He said he wasn't going to use any Blackhawks skaters. His original lineup had Savard in it. I talked to him last night. He was generally upset. He's a good dude. Listen, this isn't, I'm not defending anybody. I'm not taking anyone's side here. I'm just giving you what happened. He originally had Savard in there, which made sense because he had Josh Anderson and Artemi Panarin. Found out Werenski was back. He swapped to Zadorov because Barry's out. And then on the fly, right before the game locked, he moved to Oesterle. It was not Tommy G. So, on the fly stuff happens. Does it look shady? Sure. Okay. You can let his subs decide. I think the one problem that I do have with it is the people running the site have not handled it very well. But I'm not one to judge. It's over. It happened. Let the kid enjoy his moment. He's going to Toronto. I'm sure you can find it on Twitter. I don't want to add fuel to the fire. I'm just explaining to what happened. I think this is not on Jake. I think this is on the site. But that's that. It's done. At the end of the day, he's going to Toronto. Let the kid have his moment. Let the kid be happy. He put out an awesome lineup. It'd be one thing if the lineup was just, a bunch of crap that hit their ceiling games, but the lineup was good. So he hit the nuts, basically. So let him enjoy his moment. You want to blast the site, fine. But let him enjoy his moment. So, New Jersey, I can't really... I can't really pay $7,500 for Taylor Hall. So, for me, I'm probably going to fade New Jersey. Matt, that's not really the point, Matt. And he could have played whoever in that defensive spot, and he still would have won. He won by 10 points. The point is that how it looks transparency-wise. But that's on the site. That's not on Jake. But we're done. Yeah. Saul's Saul, But I think he's funny. But you just if you let it go, people will move on, Who cares? It happens. If you tout long enough, you're going to play people who you don't tout. It's just a fact. I've done it. I've swapped into players that I said I was going to fade before, and I've won money off of it. It happens. It happens. It happens. We'll just move on. Let him enjoy it. Yeah, always with Coyotes, usually. It's just, that's burning money, not making money. Okay, so New Jersey. Not really into New Jersey tonight. I kind of like Holtby in all formats. So, yeah, we talked about Washington. So, if it is Schneider, Not really interested. I think you can take a GPP flyer if you're really feeling ballsy. And if you're fading Washington. If it's Kincaid, he is going to be the fresh goalie. He is 7,300. Again, you can take a GPP flyer. I'm not going to fault you if you want to go there. I just, for me, I'm probably going to fade. It's not something I don't think I want to do personally. So let's move on to the next game of the night. It is Carolina traveling to St. Louis to face the Blues. Both the teams are on a back-to-back. It's going to be Scott Darling against Carter Hutton. I used Carolina yesterday, and God, Carolina is frustrating. They're really frustrating. They get you the shot volume, but they don't score. I think with Carter Hutton, you can go back to the TSA line. I think my preferred line, again, who I used last night, is Rask, Skinner, Justin Williams. They are back-to-back on the road, so I don't know how much you want to really target it. But, this is a slate where there's a bunch of teams on the back-to-back. Yeah, it was just not fun watching that game. On D, I'm kind of into Jacob Slavin now. He's been producing. If you still want to go Falk or Hannafin, that's fine. If you want to spend down a little bit, I think, Slavin or even Brett Pesci, or however you say fish in Italian, is fine. I think he, blocks some shots. He's a decent player. He sees top pair minutes. He's over 20 minutes a game if you need a punt. On the Blues side, I don't know. I like that top line. Shen, Barbashev, Tarasenko. It's weird to me how good Cam Ward has been playing and that he's been the better goalie than Scott Darling. So I think you can go to this top line tonight. Barbashev provides salary relief at 3,300. I don't know if it's going to be one of my plays that are going to go, yes, let's lock them in. But if you're having multiple lineups, I do want exposure to that line. I don't mind that second line either. Their shot volume kind of does concern me. Pietrangelo is way up there at 6,900. Salary's not an issue for you. If I have them in my lineup and I win the Q, blast me. I like to take the heat. I like correcting my mistakes so everyone gets better. If you have the salary relief, I think Pietrangelo at 6,900 is a decent play. If not, Pyroko at 4,600 is okay. I think you still can punt Vinny Dunn at 3,000. I don't mind that. In net in this game, I'm not a big Carter Hutton guy. He's 8,200 on DraftKings. I think that's a fade for me. I understand he's been playing really well. Carolina's back-to-back on the road, so there is definitely merit to using him. So if you want to use him in a GPP, I think, you're more than welcome to. I got to stick to my brand here, and I don't think I'm going to go there. Darling, on the other hand, at 7,000 is an interesting play for me. St. Louis is also on a back-to-back. I also don't like stacking against Carolina because they are decent defensively. They shut down Pittsburgh pretty well last night. St. Louis is tough at home. I did talk about Holtby. I think he's in play in every format. Darling's an interesting GPP play for me. If you're going to go back to, a TSA line or you're going to go back to, the Skinner line, I think you can use Darling in a GPP. St. Louis is tough at home, but I do think this could be a low-scoring game. But at 7,000, even if it is a 3-2 game and Carolina wins, I think, Darling is probably going to pay off at his price. Especially, there's a bunch of iffy goalies going today, so you got to have everything on the table. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Minnesota Wild traveling to Nashville to face the Predators. This is a home back-to-back home and home. I would imagine it's going to be UC Saros against the Lock. I doubt they're going to want to go Dubnyk back-to-back after. I doubt they're going to want to go Dubnyk back-to-back after he comes back from an injury. So it's probably going to be Saros against the Lock. It looks like Forsberg finished the game on the top line with Johansson and Arvidsson. That you need to keep an eye on, because if that top line's in play, if that is the top line, I think they're in play. I really like using them at home. I think Nashville, too, is definitely in play as well. Turris, Fiala, Smith. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know. I'm going to have to go look at that. I don't know why he only played 8 minutes. He's questionable tonight. So, okay, that makes more sense. I think as it stands, if it's not Forsberg, I think it's Colton Sissons on the top line, which is it's Colton Sissons. But I think he can go, I would probably go Saros. Yeah, so I still like the top line pair of Johansson, PK as PK Subban, obviously. Yeah, he's one of my top defensemen tonight for sure. So I like Johansson and Arvidsson. That little combo, I think you can put them with PK Subban. And I think that is very nice. He keeps reducing, and his price doesn't really move. If Forsberg is out, I think, my preferred play would be the Turris line. I think you can still use it if PK if you want. I think he correlates better with Yossi. But, to each their own. Ekholm's down to 4,300. I think that brings him back into play a little bit here. So Forsberg out, I would imagine. See, this is the problem that Jake ran into last night that I'm running into tonight. How do they match? Because Turris is now at home, Forsberg is now at home, or Johansson's now at home. How they're going to hard match, I don't know. Is Turris going to go out against Koivu, or is he going to go out with Stahl? I don't know. I would assume if I made a good guess, educated guess, I would imagine Turris goes out against Koivu. That's just a guess. I honestly don't know. We have to wait to see AD's line matching article. So either way, I do think that Minnesota top line is in play. Koivu, Granlund, Zucker. Both of these teams are on a back-to-back, so it's a home and home. I'm a big fan of home and homes. I think there needs to be more. Granlund was a monster last night. He was an absolute monster last night. I think you can use them with Dumba if you want at 4,300. You want to pay for Spurgeon 4,700, Suter 5,000. Also okay. I think the goalies in this game, I think my preferred play, however, is going to be UC Saros. He is 8,000. This is my analysis that I always have on UC Saros. He's short. He's short for an NHL goalie. So if his positioning is off, even the slightest, he's going to get lit up. The past few times he's been playing, he's been locked in. His positioning has been great. He's been shutting teams down. So if his positioning is good, he's one of my favorite plays. I'm a huge Saros guy, and I want him to succeed in this league. And I think he's been locked in lately, and I think you can use him in GPPs. I probably avoid in cash just on the basis that he could get blown up. Stalock, not super interested in. I know he's been playing a lot recently. I think I like Nashville better in this game, even if Forsberg's out. I just think they're a better team, and that's that. I mean, if you're using Minnesota and you want to use the lock to correlate, I think you can do that in GPPs. Otherwise, I wouldn't plug him in as a one-off goalie. So let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the LA Kings traveling to Vancouver to face the Canucks. Did the Kings play last night? No. So I would imagine this is going to be Quick against Markstrom. Holy crap, did Vanek go bonkers on Thursday. Gagne was the VVP play. He always crushes the Red Wing or the Blackhawks for some reason. Vanek was nuts. 15 DraftKings points and no hat trick is insane. Like, that is unbelievable. So, I don't know. Yeah, they look really good together. They're going to avoid Kopitar tonight. So that's probably good news. Can you go back there tonight? Sure. Kings are a different animal than the Blackhawks. The Kings are a much better team than the Blackhawks. They're better defensively. They're better in net. Yeah. I think Vancouver, too, is going to have more ownership than they should. It's a short slate. People go with, the game log teams. They go with recency bias. The one thing I will say, Brock Besser is an absolute monster. And I think you can use him. Dude's amazing. He is 6,600, but he's been incredible this season. He's probably the front runner for the Calder. He's more than the point per game player right now. 21 goals, 17 assists in 35 games. Like, that's just insane. Especially playing with Sam Gagne and Thomas Vanek. I mean, obviously he played a lot of his games with Horvat and Barchi, but Vancouver's going to have some ownership. I am interested in Besser just because he's a monster. Quick and cash in this game, I tend to stay away from goalies on the road in cash. This is something I do. I think you can use Quick and cash, but I think people, I don't know if this is a general perception or just maybe I live in a bubble. I think people underestimate how good Vancouver really is. Like, I know they're not a great team. Oh, Besser against Quick? Yeah, I think you can use Besser against Quick. Vancouver is they're not a great team, but they're a tough team to play against. I don't know. For me, the King... Yeah, Quick has been playing really well lately. I think you can go back to the Kopitar line tonight with Pearson and Brown. I'm not a huge fan of that second line unless Gabrick moves up to it. I think you can, if you want to get a little funky, I think you can go someone like Toffoli with Muzzin and Martinez. I like using two Kings D-men when I'm using Kings. Like, I like going Kopitar, Doughty, Muzzin, something like that. I think, Quick is viable in GPPs tonight. I don't know if I'd use him in cash. Yeah, Kempe is super cheap, but I almost prefer that line with Nick Shore now. I think they create a little bit more scoring chances. Yeah, I mean, they went, and it was Anton Forsberg. It's a Blackhawks team who are just awful defensively. I think Forsling and Ruda were out on the ice for all the Vancouver 2 goals. I mean, that pair is terrible defensively. If you're not using Kings, I think Markstrom makes an interesting GPP play at 7,000. I like using Markstrom at home. The Kings are banged up. I mean, they can put up goals in a hurry, but on this slate where there's a bunch of goalies who are playing for teams on back-to-back, I think you can use Markstrom and GPPs. If you're using Vancouver at all, on the blue line, I'd probably go Edler, and then I'd go Del Zotto, and that'd probably be about it. And on the Kings side, Doughty, if you're using the top line, obviously makes sense. If not, I go Muzzin, then Martinez. So that is the 6-game slate. We also have UFC tonight. I'm going to finish my chess piece tattoo in a few hours. So I will still be around on Twitter. But any questions? Okay. So Bergeron and Nash as both centers in cash. I think it's okay. I mean, Riley Nash has been playing way above his head, but if you still want to go back there, he is still cheap. I think center is fine. Top lines tonight: Boston 1, Washington 2, Nashville 1 if Forsberg's in, Florida, and then some depth lines like Florida 2, Boston 2, Carolina 2. Yeah, this is, I understand the cash game play, though. Sprong, he's more of an offensive player. I liked using him when he was up. If Forsberg's out, I'd either go Johansson, Arvidsson, PK, or I'd use the second line. Yes, Maddie, I do like the Drouin line. I just don't like how it's really put together. But if you are fading Florida, you are fading Reimer, I think the go-to line of Montreal is going to be the Drouin, Galchenyuk, Lehkonen line for me. I have to agree with you there. So, yeah, I do like that line. I'm not a huge fan of Montreal tonight, though. Just, of course, my man, Matty. Cash goalies. Let's see here. It's kind of tough tonight because everyone's on back-to-back on the road here. I'd probably go Holtby. If you're spending down, I think you can make a case for Reimer. I don't mind Quick. I don't mind Rask. I think really for me, it would be Holtby. It's just, this is a tough slate for cash game goalies. I think Holtby makes the most sense. Final score for Montreal, Florida. Depends. I mean, Quick has been playing really good, but I could see this being a, I don't know. If it's a 5.5, I'd probably bet under, but I could easily see it going over. I'm not a good sports bettor either, so I could see this being under, but I could see it being like 4-1 Florida. Sammy and Dave are on the same page. Are there any animals playing? He would like the Panthers. Yeah, he would like the Panthers. Any animal that he recognizes, he's all in on. Yeah, so I'm in that 22-man, $1,000 queue if you want to sweat that out with me tonight. You know, I don't really get tilted too often, but good luck, everybody, tonight. I'll be on Twitter unless I pass out from the pain of my chest tattoo. It really hurts. I got, the outline done. If I, you heard, I pretty much touted every player, so I covered my bases. But if I use somebody that, I didn't say, feel free to call me. Call me out. I like to be as transparent as possible. So, good luck, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow, maybe. Yeah, stacking New Jersey and Ottawa. Yeah, that's going to be my lineup. New Jersey, Ottawa, just completely. Good luck, everybody.